So I make mistakes in French all the time. It's not my native language, I'm gonna do it. I said to my husband today, j'ai descendu. And if you know French, you know descendu is conjugated with être and not avoir. And my husband goes, je suis descendu. And I was just like, oh yeah, right, because it's a Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp. And he goes, Mrs. who? Mrs. Tramp? I was like, Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp. He goes, who are they? If you studied French, at least in the United States, that's how you learned the irregular verbs. Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp. I showed him this picture, and he goes, I have no idea who they are. And I was just like, so how did you learn the irregular verbs in French? And he goes, I don't know, but not like that. You're kidding. How are you supposed to memorize them if you're not learning Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp? They're just making it hard on themselves. Anyway, I thought it was really interesting that he never learned about Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp.
Now I'm actually curious how French people learn the irregular verbs. And also, if you're not from the US, how did you learn it? Or even if you live in the US and you didn't learn it like that, how did you learn it?
Bisous, love.